Okay, so for today, we're going to look at financial instruments, particularly the short-term and long-term financial instrument. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so objectives for today: to introduce financial instrument concepts and theories, differentiate short-term against long-term financial instrument, and understand the role of financial instruments in business and finance. Okay, so very straightforward in topic natin for today. Okay, now what are financial instruments? Again, these are agreement between two parties, one creditor, one debtor. Okay, yung isa magpapautang, yung isa ay nangungutang. This can also take form of ownership of assets. So, for example, when you buy stocks, it is a financial instrument, and you take part ownership of a certain company. Okay, represent a loan. This can be a loan. This can be a short-term loan, short-term indebtedness, long-term indebtedness, long-term loan, and stake in legal entity. Again, stake in legal entity, you have interest on a particular entity. It can be a voting right. You can have voting right, or particularly you have only interest being paid by the entity to you. Okay? So itong financial instrument, lahat to ay intangible, guys. Wala tayong physical na makikita. Okay? Yung pwede lang natin makita physical dito would be the contract or the written agreement when you purchase a financial instrument or when you lend a money. Pero lahat ito ay kathang-isip. Okay? So don't expect na meron kang physical substance on this subject matter. Okay? Now let's look at financial instrument duration. Now, if we're talking about short-term financial instruments, these are instruments held less than a year. Okay? So lahat, same as current assets terminology. Tama? Lahat ito ay less than 1 year. Now, if we are talking about long-term financial instrument, this can take more than 1 year. Okay? Next. Now, financial instrument long-term, we can base it on debt or equity. Now, but before that, let's look at long-term financial instrument. Why would companies need financial instruments such as this? Okay, as we could remember, companies have their own capital. Okay, before you dive into a business, meron kang capital that you can use to grow your business, to put on your business. Okay, however, we have what we call the concept of other people's money. Okay, other people's money. If you are the entity and you own particular number of capital, how much, kung magkano yun, there would come a time that it will not be enough for you to use in another business opportunity. When that time comes, company would want to have additional funding. Okay? So kung malaki yung project and it would be a long-term project, then they can result into debt-based financial instruments or equity-based financial instruments. Okay? So pag sinabi natin debt-based, ito yung mga naririnig nyo sa financial accounting nyo. For example, we have a good example of financial instrument long-term would be bonds. Okay? When we talk about bonds, these are financial instrument of indebtedness. So, sino-sino ang gumagamit ng bonds, or sino yung what companies result into using bonds? Actually, every company, mga publicly traded companies would result into bonds. You're using bonds. Government can also release bonds. Okay? For example, let's say Ayala Company would want to expand their business in the real estate. Additional 500 million capital is required. Okay, they can consider issuing bonds for a fixed percent or a fixed percentage. Let's say between 3 to 6% per annum. Okay, so therefore, the cost of the financial instrument is the interest they are going to pay for those people who will lend money to the company. Government also borrows money through bonds or retail bonds. Okay? Now, retail bonds, why would government borrow money? Wala bang sapat na pera na kokolekta ang government sa taxes from the taxes they have collected to its citizens? Okay. Sometimes it will not be enough. For example, let's say the total collection of the government in the year 2020 is around 200 billion. Let's say lang, kunwari. Okay, 200 billion. However, this 200 billion is already allocated for the operation of the government, the salaries of its employees, the projects, the ongoing projects of the government, the roads, highways, trains, etc., etc. Okay, so there are many projects for the government. However, nagkaroon na COVID. Okay, so during COVID, meron tayong um, unexpected, okay, unexpected expenses for the government. So possible manghiram sila uli ng pera through or using bonds. Okay? So let's say yan, payable in 3 years, 4% per annum. Yan. That would be one of the reasons why the government will borrow money. Okay? The bonds is not just available for the taking of its citizens. It can also be sold outside. Okay? Pwedeng bonds yan, ang kukuha is an entity from the US, or so on and so forth. So, pwede yun. Okay? However, meron tayong tinatawag na face value, okay, of the bonds. Kung magkano ang face value of the bonds. So, for example, pag 2 million yung inutang, then the face value of the bond is 2 million. However, syempre, pag there is a possibility or probability na yung bonds will not be paid, and therefore the face value or the fair value of the bonds will decrease. Okay? Now, when we talk about equity-based financial instrument, okay, these are capitalization in form of investment of a stockholder. So, pag equity-based, let's say, company needs additional money for the expansion of business in other area. For example, let's say ang SM, 'di ba? Ang SM parang ginagawa nila sa SM shopping mall is like the strategy of putting up a sari-sari store. So for example lang, nung nagsisimula yung SM in their strategy. Syempre, very limited yung capital nila. So ang first branch ng SM, let's say sa Makati. Then they want to expand in Pasig. Yun na yung mega mall, di ba? Let's say they can use equity. Sabihin nila, we have a project this big and this will surely make profits in the near future. So if you want to invest, there's a possible 300% return on your capital after 10 years. So 300% is not bad, right? Kung meron kang 1 million, after 10 years, magiging 3 million na siya, then it's not bad. Okay, that's equity-based. The difference dito sa equity compared to debt is that yung debt kasi you have a guaranteed return. Okay? Sa perspective of the entity, there is a guaranteed expense in form of interest. Sa part ng nagpautang, okay, there is a guaranteed return in terms of interest receivables. Tama ba? However, pagdating sa equity-based financial instrument, there is no guarantee. Okay? If you recall, sabi ko kanina, di ba? There is a possible or probable profit. Okay, 300% return on the capital. Pero that is just a projection, an estimate, a mere forecast. So therefore, it may or may not happen. So if it doesn't happen, walang expense yung company. Kasi hindi nag-boom. So therefore, remember, if we are based in common shares, kailan ka magkakaroon ng dividend? If there's only profit. You cannot give what you don't have. So kung walang profit, wala kang expense. However, syempre kapag kunyari nagkatotoo, sobrang lumaki yung for example, yung 1 million mo, talagang tumaas yung value ng company and the project was successful, possible hindi lang 300% yung return. So, it is not, my point is, equity is not guaranteed. You take a lot of risk when you involve in financial instrument based on equity. Okay? Now, let's look at other forms of financial instrument. Homework na agad. Okay, sorry. Nalagtawan natin yung financial instrument for short term. Okay? So, we have 4 short term, or we have 4 types of instrument here. We have commercial paper, money market, deposit, and short-term lending. Okay, very familiar na kayo dito sa deposit. Okay, it is also a financial instrument. Okay, no need to explain this. Okay, now yung money market. Okay, this is similar to your marketable securities. Okay, short-term investment when it comes to your balance sheet, right? Very minimal ang risk dito. It pays out around 1% to 2% per annum. Very safe. So, hindi siya masyadong costly in terms of the perspective of the entity in terms of borrowing money. So, commercial paper, yan. It's also a debt instrument, okay, a financial instrument, particularly utang yan. When companies would want to pay up for their short-term obligations such as payroll, short-term taxes, seasonal increase in capitalization, ayan, they result into commercial paper, usually payable within 6 months, 3 months, or 9 months. Depende kung gaano nila katagal kailangan yung money. Okay? And we have short-term lending. We have short-term lending in forms of credit cards, short-term loan sharks, yung mga I think meron kayo na re-receive nito sa mga text messages nyo. 0.099% interest only for salary loan, like that. Those are short-term lending. Okay? Now, what I didn't include in this presentation is derivatives. Okay? But still, derivatives are part of financial instrument. Okay? Now, derivatives are more complex financial instrument, and unfortunately, wala tayo niyan sa Philippines. Okay? So, medyo hindi tayo mag-dive on derivatives. Okay? Siguro, pagdating nyo na lang sa advanced accounting. Okay? Now, for your homework,